Hi, this is Saintus. Welcome back to Forge of Vampires, and today I've got for you something which is going to be kind of a mini-series on this channel, which is called The Basics, which will cover the basic things in Forge of Vampires such as Friends Tavern, the Antique Dealers, settlements, and so on. But today it is about the Friends Tavern. So the Tavern was put into the game back in 2016 in order to make your friends more useful. Essentially, now with your friends you could earn some silver coins like the ones you see over here, and you would then spend them on the tavern shop. So how can you earn them? Basically, now your friends need to enter your tavern and sit on a chair basically, and that will give you silver coins, and the more friends you have, the more coins you can collect one at a time. Also, when it comes to visiting other people's taverns, you can only do that once a day per person. And the way you can do it is right over here in the bottom of your friends list. As you can see, you have this little chair icon, and if it has an arrow above, it means that the tavern is open for you to enter. If it's not, it'll then show this little clock over here, and it means that the tavern is either full, or for example, still haven't waited those 24 hours. But once you've entered, how does it work? Well, a tavern has a table with a certain amount of chairs that people can sit in. It starts off with 3 chairs, up to a maximum of 4. You can then buy more chairs with silver coins, and you can also upgrade the table to increase the maximum amount of chairs you can have by also clicking this button and spending more silver coins. Also, the larger the table, the more coins per chair will you be earning, and if you add all of that up, you are expected to earn around 1,350. And on top of that, you also have some modifications that you can make to your table, which are the tray, cloth, and also the floor. So the tray can give you a collection bonus that can go all the way up to 10%. As for the cloth, it gives other people that sit on your tavern a chance to earn 1 forge point, which can go all the way up to 8%. And finally, as for the floor, it gives you a 20% chance when you're visiting other people's tavern to earn a certain amount of coins that can go all the way up with the best floor to 30 silver coins. But once you've earned all of those coins, how can you spend them? Well, it is all in the tavern shop, and you have a wide array of options that range from resource effects, military ones, and also time effects, as you can see in these 3 categories over here on the left. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the options first, and then I'm going to get into more detail. So as for the first 6 options regarding coins and supplies, they are all bad. The extra amount for the guild expedition is good. The one regarding enthusiasm and the merchants are also bad, quite useless. The one regarding your offensive army is average, but the ones that affect your defensive army and give you a protective shield are also quite bad. And finally, as for the time effects, the one that decreases your construction time is also quite useless. And as for the army, it's usually, especially in the long term, also not good. And so that was a quick rundown. If you liked it, see you next time. But anyway, now with the detailed review. The thing is that the coins and supplies don't work in general because you can only have one effect at a time. And if you want to have more effects, you'll have to always pay 50 diamonds to activate a second effect at the same time, and you cannot have anything else more than that. Which means that getting stuck with either of these effects is actually quite important. And that's what these boosts do. Basically, you only want those boosts for that daily collection that only lasts 1 or 2 minutes for you to collect them, and you don't need them for the last 4 hours or even 24 hours, which is time for the maximum bonus. But not only that, it only gives you 60%. There are multiple great buildings that give you more than that, but on top of everything, getting coins and supplies is usually very easy. You should never need a bonus from the Friends Tavern. Anyway, now into the extra round for the guild expedition. So this one is the only one that's actually good. This is because in the guild expedition, you can either attack or negotiate. And whilst I always advise you to attack, if you cannot do that, or if you just want to negotiate, you can go for it. And whenever you're negotiating, there are 3 factors that are really important. The first one obviously is how you negotiate, how you offer the right goods at the right time. The other one is the reason why you should avoid negotiating, which is luck. Regardless of how good you are, you will still need a lot of luck to perform a mass negotiation, which ends up forcing you to either spend diamonds whenever you're unlucky, or doing everything all over again if you don't want to spend those diamonds, but that means that you have lost a certain amount of goods, and this can repeat itself over and over and over if you keep choosing to negotiate. But the third factor is the amount of rounds you have. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you how much of a difference you can make if you buy that extra round by also using the FOE helper. So if I try to negotiate on this encounter, it has 6 different options for 3 rounds, and I have a 60% chance of winning. However, if I buy the extra round here, and in this case the cheapest option should most of the times be enough for you, you can see now that my chances have gone up from 60% up to 99%, so making this negotiation a guaranteed win. And this is exactly why, if you're going to negotiate, that extra round is absolutely crucial for you. And so if you're ever going to negotiate in a guild expedition, you should always, but always go for this extra round. Not only that, the most expensive option only lasts for 1 hour. That is a lot easier to wait than 4 or 12 or even 24 hours or more, because there are some options that last for even longer. As for enthusiasm, this option keeps your population on constant enthusiasm of 120%, which is actually quite good. It's something that you should strive for. Except with one thing, it's one of the easiest things for you to do. Just to give you my example, my main goal has never been to have enthusiastic population, and I have like 200,000 people. However, despite me not caring, I have more than 300,000 above the required amount for an enthusiastic population. And this can be very easily done with, for example, the Alcatraz or other great buildings, plus the event buildings, which I'm going to show you here as well. They offer you not only a lot of people, but more happiness than you need to have them enthusiastic. For example, the Macau Bridge offers me 15,000 people, but 23,000 happiness points. It's kind of crazy, but they've been doing this for the last couple of years, and this is basically why you can always have an enthusiastic population without doing a thing, and so also this option on the Tavern shop is useless, and you should never buy it. The final one under the resource category regards the merchants. So merchants are these people in the market, which is basically an automatic part of the game that's always there. They'll, for example, trade you. Let me just put this over here. Yeah. So as you can see, they will trade any good that you want for another good of the same age. However, they will charge 10 times more the amount that they will offer you. And this is a terrible rate. Absolutely terrible. So bad that you can change these offers right over here, and you can go from a 1 to 10 up to a 1 to 3, which is more than 3 times better. However, obtaining goods is very easy. This is still worse than the worst trading rate that can exist in the market, and usually if you don't have enough goods, it should just be possible for you to wait until the next day, or for you to ask your guild to trade with you personally. And not only that, this is very expensive. For an offer 25,000 is too expensive. But even without considering that, this is still a very inefficient way of obtaining goods, only if someone were incredibly desperate and needed those goods in the next minute or so. But now let's move on to the military category. So the first one regards your attacking army and has a boost that can go all the way up to 30%. However, 30% is a very small increase to the majority of high-end players. I, for example, have more than 600% of attack bonus, and 30% it's very small, and there are other players that go way above 1,000. So for these people, and even those with like much less, it is still very relevant as an increase. But what about the other people? Well, for the people in the lower ages, yes, 30% can be considered quite good, but it's still 8,500 coins. And I'll just put an asterisk on this and say that while yes, it is very useful, they would have to save a lot of coins for a lot of time. As for the defensive army effects, these ones are totally useless. As you know, the best way of defense is for you to collect on time, so you should never really invest in defensive army, just the bare minimum, and this means that you should never consider these options. As for the protective shield, well, it protects your city from being attacked by anyone for a certain amount of time, up to 3 days. And while this sounds good, and it actually would be good for people who don't really care about collecting and don't want to show up on time at the same hour and minute every single day, in that case, it is in fact too expensive. As you can see here, 24,000 silver coins means that you're paying 8,000 coins per day, which is around 7 times the maximum amount of coins that you can earn per collection, which is pretty much impossible for you to have in one day. This is something that a player should only do if they're going on a vacation or they're going to be absent from the game for a few days. That's the only situation in which I see this being useful. And finally, you have the time effects. The first one regards the construction time of buildings. And whilst in the past these would have been actually very useful, because there were a lot less event buildings, and most of them were not as useful as they are by far, people would regularly have to demolish a lot of residential buildings and production buildings and replace them by the new ones. But now, even in the early ages, a player can already have only event buildings, which take like 20 seconds to build, which means that this will pretty much never be a requirement for them. They'll never have to wait hours or even a day for a whole set of buildings to be constructed. And so this is also pretty useless. Not only that, it leaves you stuck for 72 hours. And finally, you have the recruitment option. This one is almost like the protective shield. So it can reduce the recruitment time of your units up to 35%, and this also applies for your Alcatraz. And personally, this would be very good. Instead of having an Alcatraz, for me for example, that recruits every 17 hours, it could now be recruiting from around 10 to 12 hours. I haven't made a bath, but it would be around that area, and that is a lot better, especially for guild battlegrounds for example. The thing is, just like the protective shield, it is too expensive. Even the best option, which costs 6,000 coins per day, is more than 4 times the maximum amount of coins that you can collect. And again, I don't see this happening 4 times a day continuously. Much like the protective shield, these should only be used in certain special occasions, such as for example you needing desperately those units a few hours before the normal collection, maybe because guild expedition is about to close or the guild battlegrounds are about to close, or you need to conquer that sector in guild battlegrounds like right away, then it might be useful, but still overall I would stay away from this effect. And so, that was a friend's tavern in Forge of Empires. In the next video I'll be covering the event dealer. I hope you liked it and I'll see you next time.